In this video, we're going to look at how to use a graphing calculator to solve an equation using that graphing capability. As always, I've got a TI-84 plus CE, but a lot of what I say will apply to other graphing calculators. So let's say I want to solve this problem. And I'm going to start with a pretty basic linear equation, just to have something simple to start with. Now, we obviously could solve this by hand, but we can solve it with the graphing calculator as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to graph two lines. I'm going to have the left-hand side be one line and the right-hand side be the other. I usually do the left-hand side first and the right-hand side second, but you can certainly do it the other way around as well. So I've got x plus 5 for the one, and then 2x plus 7 for the other. So let's go ahead and start by just hitting graph to get an idea of approximately what this looks like. Now, again, I can at least get a pretty good idea of about what my solution should be. Looks like it's about -2, because I can see here's -2, there's where the intersection is. But it might not be that number exactly. So let's use the calculator to solve that. So I'm going to use the calc menu. So I'm going to hit second and then trace. So second and trace for that calc menu. Now here where they're crossing, that is an intersection. So I'm going to go ahead and go to 5 and pick intercept. And you can either scroll down or you can just hit 5 on your number pad. Now again, it's going to ask me a couple of questions. It's going to ask me, beginning with, what is the first curve? Now as a default, it is going to be on that y1. You can see it on that blue y1 graph. You can also see up here on the top, it's telling me I'm on y1. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter. It is then going to ask me, what is the second curve? It's now on my red curve, and up at the top, I've got that it's at the y2. So I'm going to hit enter again. And then finally, it's going to ask me to guess. Now, if you have more than one intercept, you are going to have to do this for every single one of them. Here there is only one intersection, so I'm just going to use my cursor here and get fairly close to that. You do not have to get on it exactly, so don't panic if you can't quite get it exact. You just have to be reasonably close. And then go ahead and hit enter again. And we thought it was -2. Looks like it is indeed -2. And you'll notice my calculator does also give me the y value. We don't normally ask for that in math class, but if we need it, we definitely have it. Now, I started out with a pretty easy one, but let's say I've got a much harder question. Let's say I've got something with logarithms. My students really struggle with logarithms. So let's say I've got that question. I could solve it by hand, but again, that is a very difficult problem. So let's use the calculator. So again, I'm going to have the left-hand side be one line and the right-hand side be the other. And let's clear those out so I can, anyone's in. So let's hit log, and I've got x plus 4 in parentheses, and then plus log of x, that's subtraction. And then on the other side, I've got the log of x. Again, always make sure I've typed it in correctly, otherwise that calculator is not going to help me. And then let's hit graph. So here is my first graph over there, and here comes my second graph. Now it does look like they're intersecting. I'd say that's maybe 3.5-ish, but it's definitely a lot harder to see because this is not as nice of a point. These are not as nice graphs. So let's go ahead and go through this process again. So I hit second and then trace for that calc menu. Again, I'm going to go down to intersect. I'm sorry, I accidentally wrote intercept. It should be intersect. So let's go down to 5 and hit intersect. So again, my first curve is y1. I hit enter. Oops, getting quite confused. First curve. Oh, it's trying to give me a value that's not there. Let's try hitting enter again there. Oh, there we go. I have to actually get on the graph. There we go. So I hit a couple points. Now it'll finally let me hit enter. The second curve, though, it has hopped over now to y2. Hit enter. Unless you've got weird graphs like these, you can usually just hit enter, enter for both the first and second, unless, of course, you've got 3 or more graphs, in which case you've got to make sure you're picking the right one. And again, finally, it's asking me to guess. I do not have to be there exactly. I just have to be reasonably close, because here there is just that one intersection, and that should be close enough. So let's hit enter. Now this is definitely not a nice number, unlike the previous one. Here I'm getting approximately 3.464, and again it does also give me the y value of approximately 0.5396. Now I always remind students, if this is a difficult question where there's radicals in my answer, that I can't turn that into a fraction. And this is not a particularly nice number. So I am going to be stuck with those decimals, but I can use the main calculator to help me check to see whether or not that decimal is accurate for whatever that accurate answer is. But this is a really good way to try and solve, or at least check, particularly for these harder problems where I might be struggling to solve it by hand.